right, so thank you for tuning in to Chop It Up a Bit. This is episode number 90. I am Kyle Edwards, of course. And on this episode, I will be looking at the NBA as the second half of the season kicked off for a few teams on Wednesday, everybody else Thursday. I just wanted to take a look at where each team stands against the rest of the league as we are coming up on the trade deadline as well, which is towards the end of March. So I do believe with, the expanded playoffs with, the 10 teams being eligible with the last 4 in each conference playing in a play-in tournament to get the last 2 seeds in the more standard playoff structure. I believe that leaves the door open for more teams to be, to at least try to be aggressive during for the trade deadline and add a piece or two. But on the flip side, with more teams involved, it could make for a quiet trade deadline as some teams, may not want to part ways with a piece that they have because maybe they're looking to build on what they had to move up or something. So interesting to see what happens this year. But like I said, I'm going to slate the teams from basically title contender to fans. You're going to have to be patient as the team is really just kind of going through it right now. And they may not, really be contending this year or even next year. But, appreciate what your team's going through. So, but yeah, this should be a good one. And it's interesting when I was looking at it and ranking the teams to see kind of how many teams I had kind of, staggered into the middle of the league right now. And I think that goes to the whole aspect of more teams, more availability for playoffs. That, if one of those teams can make a move or two that really shakes up their team chemistry, maybe they can shake themselves loose from there and move up towards contender status. But we'll have to see. Like I said, I'm hoping for an active trade deadline this year, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was really quiet. But before I do get into that, I guess I should talk about the All-Star weekend really quickly, because I don't spend too much time for a game that doesn't mean anything, so it's glorified exhibition. But as I said, the 3-point contest was basically the contest of the day, because they put it all into one day. It had a lot of drama into it. I was right with, I think I had Curry, Levine, and Brown making it the second round. They didn't. It was Curry, Conley, and Tatum, which I was actually surprised a little bit from my boy Tatum. I thought he might struggle only because his jump shot is a longer release or something, but he did well. It basically came down to Conley really set the tone for the second round, going out with 27 points. Tatum struggled. He got like 17. But it came down to Curry and his last rack where he was down. And I think he made the third ball on the rack to get within 1. And then he missed the fourth ball on the rack. So it came down to the money ball, where it was either he makes it and he wins. He misses it, Conley wins. So he releases it. There's that split second of anticipation. And then, he held that hand up there and it went through the net. Swish, no rim, clean. And Steph Curry became a 2-time 3-point contest champion. So, like I said, great contest. Conley did way better than I thought he would. And, with that last second drama, it was just everything you needed. The skills challenge was probably the second best challenge. And I was right with Sabonis, because Sabonis did make it to the finals. I thought he was going to get there against Chris Paul and lose. But Chris Paul didn't even make it to the finals as Vucevic beat Chris Paul in the second round. So once again became a battle of big men. Sabonis was a runner-up last year, but this year he was able to rectify all that as he and Vucevic went up against each other in the finals. It was pretty much neck and neck the whole way. Came out to the three-point shot, of course. They basically got there around the same time. Sabonis did end up winning it, and what helped him was, since Sabonis shoots more on a line and Vucevic puts a little more arc on his shot, Sabonis was able to finally sneak a ball in before Vucevic's shot could interfere with it. So he ends up winning. It was great, and basically what I said about Doncic came true. Doncic was going through the course kind of with this too cool attitude, and Sabonis ended up beating him. I know I picked Paul to beat Vucevic in the second round. Probably went against my original train of thought because something did tell me that Vucevic would beat Chris Paul, but I thought with it being Chris Paul's fifth time in it, that maybe this would be the year that he would win it. Plus there was that whole thing before the competition with Shaq, where Shaq told him if he won it, he was going to donate, it was $25,000 to Winston-Salem State, which is a HBCU right around where Chris Paul grew up. So I thought the added motivation, Chris Paul would finally pull through. He didn't. So shout out to Sabonis for winning it. Great competition. Then we came down to the slam dunk challenge, where we had three guys that a lot of people didn't know about. Obi Toppin started off the competition with a really good dunk. Mind you, Obi Toppins was 6'9", so he's a big guy. He went baseline, dribbled left hand, jumped up, bounced it between his legs, caught it with his right hand while he's in the air, and threw it down on the other side of the rim. Great dunk to start off with. And he was followed up by Cassius Stanley, who I did pick to win it, who had another great dunk as well. He threw the ball up, went up. He jumped up in the air, caught it with his right hand, put it between his legs, dunked it with his left. Another great dunk. He got screwed on the score, which I think killed all of his momentum, because that's a dunk that should have got a 50, but he only got 44 for it, which I don't know what Dominique and Josh Smith were looking at, but they lowballed him. So yeah. And then there was, what's his name? Anthony Simons, how you pronounce it. The guy from Portland, who I actually did not know a lot about, but as the competition started, he was showing that he's a guy who's a high flyer, which if you watch Portland, you never really get to see it. That's why I was kind of worried about how well he would do. But, he ultimately won it. It's the same thing most years where people after the competition are saying that it was trash or whatever. My thing is, the only way the slam dunk contest is really going to get back to the prestige that it once had is we're going to need bigger names in it. And it's one thing I've, killed LeBron for throughout his career. And some people will say I'm a hater or whatever, but I don't care. The fact that LeBron never did the slam dunk contest, I think really looks bad for him. Maybe not in the overall scheme of things, of course, but the slam dunk contest was basically a showcase back in the day. You remember Jordan versus Dominique. If you're too young to remember, go ahead and look on YouTube and find it. But those are two big names in the league who went at it, had a memorable finals, and really gave the slam dunk contest what it needed. You also had the Vince Carter show that we all remember. Kobe Bryant did it. He won it. Remember that. And the fact that LeBron never entered into it once, I feel like was kind of a... I don't know. It's just something I feel like he should have done at least once. Whether he won it or not, fine. Oh, and then remember there was that year when was that the year Dwight Howard won it or something with the Superman and all that? And I think Kenny Smith was talking to LeBron. It was like, LeBron, when are you going to do it? And LeBron made that stupid statement about, I'm putting my name down for next year, which never happened. But, so yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't need to see LeBron in it. He had his chance, so forget that. But I think going forward, they're going to need, well, if Zach LaVine didn't get screwed the year against Aaron Gordon, he would probably still be in it and it would have helped. But he said he's done with it. I don't blame him. Aaron Gordon's had some injuries to his ankles or something, so I doubt he's going to do it again. So now we're going to have to look for, like, Anthony Edwards. I would love to see him do one as a young guy. Jaylen Brown said he's thought about it. Actually would have done it this year, but he's dealt with some leg injuries this year, so he didn't do it. But if he's a guy who could maybe do one in the future, that would probably help as well. Also to those people who are like, oh, dunk contest is boring, we've seen this before. It's like, I mean, you have a body, right? There's only so much a body can do before you've seen it. So the only way you're really going to get anything different out of the dunk contest is you're going to have to, like, implement trampolines or something and let guys, jump off a trampoline, get all this crazy air. That way they can, really try some stuff. So I don't know if people are looking for NBA Jam type dunks, which physically are impossible without the use of a trampoline. But yeah, for me, like, I'm not at this point, like I said, pretty much seen everything that could be done. I think all the dunk contest really needs is just big names to go into it, just to give fans a reason to watch it. And then, I mean, at that point, they could basically dunk anyway, anyhow, and people will enjoy it just because of the big name attached to it. I mean, nothing against Obi Toppin, Cassius Stanley, and Anthony Simons. They did pretty well. They each had at least a dunk that looked really good. It was just the fact that nobody knew them, so nobody really cared. Sad to say. But yeah, so Simons won. I mean, he basically won it with that dunk where he had the little mini Nerf hoop up above the square. He went up, got it, dunked it to show off his hops. Also, another name that needs to do one's probably Zion. If Zion did one like next year, people would probably lose their mind. So, yeah. Then on to the game. I mean, nothing much to say. The game is the game. People are, of course, upset at that because they don't play defense. They haven't played defense in the All-Star game in like 20 years. So, I don't know what people are looking for. So, get over it. Once again, All-Star game, when I watch it, it's just seeing big names go out there, have fun, play with some guys they haven't played with. You get the moments here and there. Like in this one, we saw that moment where Jaylen Brown went up against Jason Tatum one-on-one. That's all the All-Star game is for. I don't need to see guys go out there, contesting three-pointers. Next thing you know, some star player comes down on somebody's foot, rolls an ankle, they're out for the second half of the season. Then what are fans going to be saying at that point? So, yes, I know I would rather prefer it be competitive like it was, I guess, 80s and 90s. But for what it is right now, I'm okay with it. Plus, if you don't want to watch it, you can literally just change the channel. It's not that big of a deal. So, now that we're done with that, we can go ahead and take a look at the tiers that I was talking about. So, like I said, I went through, I included every team in this, so none of you can feel like you've been left out. And I put them all in 5 categories. So the 5 categories are title contender, title favorite. Then there's a tier of teams that need to prove it once the playoffs start. I'll explain that a little more as I get to those. Then there's the tier of teams that are like the playoff teams that are outside the title picture, so could probably benefit from a move or two. Then there's the tier of teams that are, if they do make the playoffs, are going to be in the tournament. So for those fan bases, it's kind of a little, I guess, bittersweet. That could kind of be seen as the NBA purgatory level, but we'll talk about that more. And then the final tier, like I said, fans have to be with these teams. So I guess at the bottom and work our way to the top. If you start from the top, work bottom, start at the bottom. So the fans will have to be patient. I've got 4 teams there. First team I have in there is the Timberwolves. Although I feel like the Timberwolves at this point should not be down there. They've had Karl-Anthony Towns there for years. They have D'Angelo Russell, who's an established guy in the league. They drafted Anthony Edwards number 1. He seems to be doing well this year. We all saw the play last week or so when he had the posterizing dunk off the baseline. But they still have yet to really find a solution to their biggest problem, defense. They still cannot defend anybody. And that's why they've kind of been stuck down in that position for a while now. And I think with them, they're kind of coming to a point where might be time to start thinking about what to do with Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, if you're going to build around him and actually make it better there, or is he going to be a guy that ends up sticking around there and they never become anything better than what they are now? It's kind of seen as a waste of a guy who's pretty talented at the center position. Now, with Anthony Edwards there, and his only being his rookie year, we'll have to see, how he comes out next year and how he looks, plus other pieces they put around him. Maybe they can move up a little bit. We'll have to see. Next team I put on there, the Detroit Pistons. Fans need to be patient because this offseason we saw them sign a bunch of big men. They're a team where I guess they're trying to figure out what to do next. Now, with kind of the group of guys that they brought in there, we see that Jeremy Grant has become a good player. Now, my questions for him are, is he the type where he can put up big numbers on bad teams only, or can he really help a contender get over the hump? So Detroit's going to be in a position where they could either, sell high with him and trade him for like a bunch of picks or something, or keep him and use him to create the next good team in Detroit. We'll have to see there. Next team, Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, the Thunder in transition, they literally just got out from wiping themselves clean from, Chris Paul and Steven Adams, that group, which never really materialized into a great team. Also, they've kind of been making the way past the whole Durant, Westbrook, Harden trio that they had there years ago, and Ibaka was the 4th guy, and they were slowly losing each one of them going on down the line, and Westbrook was the last one who they finally got rid of. So I'm sure they're going to be looking to build around Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going forward. They also have Dort, who's a good 3-and-D type guy. So there are some young pieces there that could turn it around for them, but it's going to take a little bit patience with that group. The fan base in Oklahoma City, I do think, is the right fan base for it, so they'll be fine. I'm sure the Thunder will be probably a playoff team next couple of years. Got the Rockets. Rockets are the same thing. They just got out from underneath the whole James Harden saga, and they were doing pretty well, and then Christian Wood got hurt, and they literally haven't won a game since he's been out. So Christian Wood has established himself as a piece for them to work around. They did get Oladipo. They tried to offer Oladipo a long-term deal. He said no, so we'll have to see what goes on there. But like I said, at least Houston got Christian Wood out of it, and they see the kind of player he is. Now they can start building from there. But yeah, Houston got to be patient right now. So now moving up, we got the most likely bound for the play-in tournament. So these are playoff teams. Well, these are teams who are either within that 7-10 range, or they might be a little bit lower than that. And could fall back a little bit. They may be a little below it, may jump up into the play-in tournament. These are the teams that are fighting for that. And I have the Pelicans there. Now, you would think with Zion and what else they have, like Lonzo, Josh Hart, guys like that, they might have been in the next tier, teams just outside the title picture, but it seems like, Brandon Ingram, forgot about him. But they're still a young team, and for general purposes, it's a young group just put together. Now, I've been a big critic of Lonzo Ball. It seems like he's finally figured it out. He's worked with fixing his shooting form, which I said he had to do when he first got drafted. People thought I was a hater. Magically, he fixes his shooting form. He starts hitting threes, so you tell me. But since he's doing that, he still plays defense, so that's good. Now, I know some teams who are in the top tiers of this list are inquiring about him. We'll have to see what New Orleans does there. They also have Josh Hart, who's a super sub type guy who comes in, gives them points off the bench. I would like to see Zion develop his game to more than just dunks and layups at this point. And I think if he does that, it will really help New Orleans out. They have Steven Adams low, so there are some pieces there. I think with this season, maybe they could sell some off to get some assets to build around Zion, Brandon Ingram, guys like that. I know people have called about JJ Redick. I feel like they probably let him go, get some picks back for him. But yeah, so it's a team that should be on the rise. We'll have to see what kind of decisions they make in the year to come. But if they do make the playoffs this year, probably wouldn't be any higher than play-in status. Speaking of Lonzo Ball, I got the Hornets here with LaMelo. Let's see. I've said before, LaMelo's already shown more promise in his rookie year than Lonzo did up until this year. Him going to Charlotte was the best thing for him. They basically, they started the year with him coming off the bench, but now that he's been put in the starting, they're allowing him to kind of work his way through, the rookie mistakes and all that. He's come on late with the ability to knock down threes. He's always been a gifted passer, so that's not been a problem. There's a good chance that they may be able to make the playoffs this year. Like I said, with the expanded playoffs. They're a team that I would say is on the rise between Hayward, Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham. They have one of the Bridges brothers. I think it's Miles Bridges that they have. And yeah, they play pretty exciting basketball. Defense is kind of a problem with them. The problem with LaMelo, it's weird that Lonzo is the defender out of the two, where LaMelo defense is spotty at best. Lonzo, up until this year, had struggled to shoot from deep. LaMelo has come in and shown that he's better at that. But yeah, so Hornets feel like they're building towards something, which is definitely the way to be with a young team. So they should be fine, I guess, for the next few years. I have the Wizards here. It's been kind of a disappointment so far with the whole Westbrook and Beal duo. They've turned it around a little bit lately. and have put themselves in a position where they can actually think playoffs, because a few weeks ago it seemed like they were going to be a team that's going to end up in the lottery for sure, and probably see a split up of that group. I mean, a breakup of that duo already in the first season for the trade deadline. But now you've seen enough there where I could see Washington keeping the two of them together. Maybe see if they shake something loose from another team, or the young guy that they got, Avdia, I believe is how you pronounce it. He can continue to come on. Maybe he becomes the number 3 for them. And, maybe they can get into the bottom of the playoffs, see what happens there. I've got the Hawks here. Kind of the same thing as New Orleans, where I feel like the expectations for them coming into the year were way too high. I was never a believer in that. I'm not. It seems like around the league they're trying to make Trae Young out to be this great superstar player. I'm not going to do that yet. He doesn't really account for the win totals that are necessary. They did get rid of Lloyd Pierce. I talked about that a few episodes ago. Thought it was kind of messed up, especially in the COVID year. But Nate McMillan's come in. They have won 4 in a row. And already with winning 4 in a row, the media down here is like losing their mind. They beat 4 kind of mediocre teams. But, yeah, whatever. They're going to overreact anyway. So I'll let them have it. But they're a team that should be in better standing than they are, because the pieces are there. They had Trae Young, like I said. They brought in Gallinari, an established scorer. Bogdanovich, established scorer, who's kind of looked out of place for most of the year. And he was hurt as well, but he hasn't really fit as well as I think they thought he would. Then they had the young guys of DeAndre Hunter, who's been hurt, which did hurt them. He's supposed to come back, I think, in a few weeks. We'll see. Cam Reddish been kind of a bust to me, but people down here seem to like him. We'll have to see with that. Clint Capella. So there's names there. So they shouldn't be a team that's really struggling for a playoff spot. But I do think they will ultimately probably make it, but in the play-in tournament, and then we'll see what happens there. I have the Magic in this group, and it was easy to put the Magic down the be patient part, but I do think the Magic are a team to watch for the trade deadline, because there's some talk. I mean, we all know that teams are talking about Vucevic. We'll see if they let him go. They have Terrence Ross, who they could get some pieces back for. They have Fournier. So if they wanted to completely hit the reset button, this would be a good year to do it. And they could... they have Aaron Gordon as well, so maybe they just completely blow it up and let all those guys go, get all the picks back that they can, maybe some young players, and just start over from there. If they keep it all together, they will contend for a bottom playoff spot. But, with guys like Aaron Gordon and Vucevic, I don't know how satisfying that really is. So they'll be a team to watch for sure. Next, the Kings. And the Kings are an interesting team because, I like De'Aaron Fox. Buddy Hield, like him. Halliburton, the young guy they got, I like his game as well. It just seems like something is missing there, and I don't know if it's who's their coach? Is like Luke Walton. I don't know if he's the issue or what, but I kind of expected at this point the Kings would be a little better than they are. Like I said, I just don't know what it is that's holding them back. I do think they could benefit from a guy who takes some pressure off of De'Aaron Fox. And I think that was the whole reason behind them drafting Halliburton. And Hield has become I guess you could argue maybe well, no. He's definitely in the argument for like top 5 3-point shooters in the game today. And yeah, I just don't know what it is that's really holding that team back. It's kind of a interesting case. You know, maybe if I lived in Sacramento and like really watched them, I'd have a better idea, but something's just missing. I really can't figure it out. So, but yeah, the Kings are still like hanging on the outside of the play-in tournament, group. But I do think that they have the talent there to go on a little run and get up into that spot. So that's why I have them here. Because I think the fans down there have been patient enough, so I didn't want to put them back down there. Because like I said, there is young talent there. For some reason, it just hasn't come together yet. I have the Cavaliers in this group. Colin Sexton has developed his game, which I appreciate seeing that. They have some pieces of wealth that I think they can move out trade deadline. Larry Nance. They still have Kevin Love, which actually blows my mind at this point that they've held on to him this long. I felt like the minute, LeBron and all that left there, they would have just moved him out for just any old thing. But somehow he stayed there. And maybe this is the year that they finally trade him. I don't know. Andre Drummond is on his way out. So with the young group that they have there, I could see the Cavs being a team who could make like a late run in the second half and like sneak in to the play-in tournament. Let's see. Because right now they are like 2.5 games out right now. So, there's still a chance. And with Sexton, Garland, who else? Osman. I feel like I'm missing somebody there. I mean, they have a pretty young group that they can use going forward. So I feel like they are on a slow uptick right now. So the Grizzlies down there. The Grizzlies have John Morant, great young point guard. They get Jaren Jackson healthy. I believe he's missed a lot of time this year. They could create a good 1-2 punch. They have Dylan Brooks. Once again, they have some pieces there that, as they get better together, and as a front office, if they can make the right decisions and bring in some guys to supplement them, then they are a team that could be on the rise. What may hurt them is they play in the West. And right now, they're like the 8 or so in the West. I just don't see in the next years like where they may be able to jump into that group. So it could just be that they're going to, for no reason other than the teams above them, they may just be stuck as like an 8, 9, 10 team every year for kind of no reason outside of their, I guess for no reason that they can really control. So unfortunately, I just think they're stuck there. And I don't know, for Memphis, with a town that, for a city that doesn't have, the Tennessee Titans, but they're in Nashville. So yeah, so for Memphis, it's kind of a city that isn't really well represented in professional sports. So I feel like the fan base there would probably be okay with a team that's, constantly at least in the playoffs, even though they don't really contend for a title. I think they could be fine with that for like 10, 15 years and be okay. As long as they're competitive and it's not like something where, they're below 500 for a long stretch. I think they're a team that could easily win like 42 to 45 games a year. And I think they'd probably be okay until, like John Morant's contract's up or something, then we'll have to see. But that's kind of their lot in life right now. And final team in this group, I have the Bulls, who, between Zach LaVine and Kobe White, they also have Hutchinson. They need to figure out marketing. What's going on there? Can he regain his rookie year form? If so, then they should be fine. If it's something where he may be damaged goods at this point, maybe it's in the best interest for the Bulls to move on from him and I guess kind of cut the cord. Because I'd hate to see them waste these years of Zach LaVine where he's becoming an absolute offensive juggernaut and not capitalize on it with an actual playoff run. So that's that group. Now we are up into kind of the legit playoff teams from here on out. So these are the playoff teams that are just outside the title picture. So they are basically teams that I think need to make a move this year. Well, okay, so they're kind of caught between either just running with what they have, making the playoffs, not really looking at a title, but kind of building for the long run, or they make a move now and try to jump up in the next couple of years, if that makes sense. But we'll just see. So this group I got Portland in this group. So Portland, my thing with Portland is they're going to be a playoff team. I feel like there's always an analyst out there that picks them as a title contender. I just don't see it right now because I still have questions as to whether Lillard and McCollum being the two best players, if that's really enough to win a title in today's NBA. Because I think there has to be a big man aspect, or at least a wing player, like a four, not necessarily like a center or something, but like a power forward, small forward wing type that's a part of that core. For Portland, like I said, it comes down to basically Lillard and McCollum. However they play is how far they go. And I just don't think that's title worthy right now. They have Carmelo there, but Carmelo's on the last legs of his career. So basically, who's going to be that third guy that steps up for them? I know they have Nurkic, but it seems like Nurkic has been hurt or whatever. I feel like I haven't seen Nurkic play in a while. So that's my thing with Portland, why I have them here. I have the Raptors here. The Raptors, they did win the title a couple of years ago, but then Kawhi left, and now they are kind of middle of the road. I think for them, they need to probably decide with their core. I guess the questions with them are Kyle Lowry. He's at the end of his career. Yes, he gave you the ring, fine. But clearly, with the deal that Van Vliet got, he's clearly the guy they want to move forward with. So, is Lowry kind of in the way? So, do you move Lowry, get something back, go with Van Vliet and Anunoby, Boucher, Siakam? To be honest, not a fan of his game. He's like a one-trick pony on offense. It's the same move every time. So I feel like there's strong limitations on his game. And I think Toronto wanted to make him the best player on that team. But if that's the case, you are not a title contender. Now, Van Vliet is different. If he's number one, fine. Siakam, I don't even know if he's a great number two right now. If Siakam were your number three, fine. So in case that means like Anunoby or Powell or something would have to step up as a number two, unless they find some other piece out there. So that's why Toronto's in this group. I got the Mavericks in this group. Doncic is great. We all know. There's some questions with Porzingis as he's been banged up the last couple of years. Porzingis can show that he's healthy, then that's one thing. But just for right, I have them in this group because of questions with his health hurt this team because the pieces are there. With Porzingis, Doncic, great 1-2. You have guys like Hardaway, who's a great third, fourth option as like instant offense, energy type players. So, they even have like Boban, the massive man down low, who plays a few minutes here and there, but really makes an impact when he comes in. They got the good coaching and everything. They got Cuban as an owner, who's a great owner, who puts money into the team. So Porzingis is the major question mark with them. That's why they're here. Golden State, we all know Steph Curry's had a great year, but without Klay Thompson yet again, that's what's going to hold them back. We got to see what Klay Thompson looks like when he does come back. I mean, missing 2 years is devastating. And like, I'm a big Klay Thompson fan, and it's been hard to watch the past couple of years what's happened to him. But they definitely need him back before they can really be a title contender. Draymond is just coming back from injury. He's looked a little... You can clearly tell that he's still working his way back in. They brought in Andrew Wiggins. He's been pretty good for them. So going forward, if they can get Thompson back with Curry. I mean, Curry just turned 33. Was it today or yesterday? Happy birthday, Steph Curry. So he's not getting any younger. I would hate to see that playoff window be closed there because they are such a fun team to watch. But I think if Thompson were to come back, Wiggins continues his play, they have Oubre there, I think they could make one last run at a title before, Curry and Thompson are too old. Let me see what else I have. The Pacers. Pacers. So Pacers are an interesting team. They're kind of in the same boat as maybe Toronto. No, they're in a little better situation than Toronto. So Indiana's big thing is they have Sabonis, Turner down low, two pretty young guys. They have TJ Warren, who's been hurt a lot of this year. That's what's holding them back a little bit. They have Brogdon, who's a great young player. So they have a lot of good young pieces there. I think their only thing is they just need more time together where they're actually all healthy to really see what the potential of the team. I think that's kind of it. They just need to be 100% healthy. So all together at the same time for a long stretch to really see what kind of group they have there. So because of that, I got them in this group. The Spurs, next team. Spurs are an interesting team as well. They have had like a big fundamental shift where for years the Spurs are one of those teams that played in half court. We're all about execution. Past couple of years they switched to a younger core there and have become a faster team, which is why you saw LaMarcus Aldridge. The story came out where he's basically not going to be playing with the Spurs anymore. They're either going to release him or trade him, and it's because he's a half court player, and that does not work for San Antonio anymore with the pieces they have down there. So he became expendable. It is great to see the Spurs back in playoff contention, though. I mean, that's great for the league and just further shows Popovich and how great of a coach he is. But yeah, so going forward, they're going to be who's like Walker down there, Murray, guys like that. That's the next wave of Spurs basketball, and they kind of basically did a quick rebuild because they missed the playoffs last year and have changed their philosophy, and it's working for them. So you're just going to need time there for those guys to continue to get better. And I mean, making the playoffs this year would be great for them, give them some experience. But they just need to build on what they have there right now. Next team, I have the Heat. So the Heat made the finals last year, came into this year, and have had a lot of issues. But I think one thing that hurt them the most was last year they kind of came on and surprised some people with like Bam Adebayo, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, that group. But now that the tape's out on them, you know, teams aren't surprised by them anymore. So they've seen a little bit of a struggle this year. Plus, Butler's missed some time. You know, they brought back Dragic, which was a good move. But, I mean, Dragic he's getting up there. So I think in the next coming years, there's going to be some shift in the makeup of the team. I know before Giannis signed his deal in Milwaukee, Miami was going to make a run at him. So, you know, with Pat Riley there, they're always going to be, plus with the Miami atmosphere, they're always going to be a destination for free agents. I just want to see, I guess, kind of how they mold that team because, you know, Dragic will be gone soon. Iguodala's not going to be around forever, of course. And we'll have to see between Robin, Hero, you know, can they continue to grow their game and become part of the, I guess, next big three down in Miami? We'll have to see. Next team in this, the Knicks, who are the surprise team kind of league. Clearly the best move that they made, bringing in Thibodeau. He's really changed the culture there. It's a team of a lot of young pieces. You know, Randall made the All-Star team this year, which was good for him. Still plenty of decisions to make on that team. You know, is Randall a piece going forward for them? Is this kind of like a 1 year light bottle type thing? Will RJ Barrett continue to grow? Open, who I talked about for the draft, love that pick for them. You know, see continue growing. So that, like I said, there's pieces there, and if Thibodeau can get this kind of activity and commitment to defense going forward, then New York, talking to you right now, Knicks basketball could be back. I don't know if they'll, with this group, I don't know if it's title worthy. I don't think so, but at least they can have legitimate playoff games in New York, which they haven't had on a consistent basis since Ewing and Starks and those guys were there. So definitely would be good in that aspect to have New York basketball back. As most NBA fans know, the league does really well. You have the Lakers, Knicks, the Sixers. When those four teams are basically great, the league's in a great position. So there you go. Last team in this group, I got my Celtics. Kind of a, I guess, sour note that they're in this group. But the thing is, you know, they have Tatum and Brown, two very young guys, two guys who have shown that they have great skills in this league. Questions are with Kemba Walker's the three. You know, how bad is his knee injury? Can he hold up? I will still say I had no problem with the move to bring Walker to Boston, because after the debacle with Kyrie Irving, where he wanted to be a leader and then literally didn't want to be the leader there, they had want him. Even though I've seen some Celtics fans that stare about, no, what if we had Kyrie on this team? I'm good with that. He can go to Brooklyn, do whatever. I don't care. It's because in Brooklyn, he's not the man. Durant's better than him, and Harden is clearly the number 2 there. Kyrie's the number 3 guy. So, yeah. What else was? So I think with the Celtics, I do think they need to make a move. There's been some talk with Harrison Barnes as the guy they're looking at. I would not be mad at that. At this point, it's just about supplementing Tatum and Brown with guys who just don't get in the way. I mean, Tatum and Brown are guys who can shoot mid-range. They can get to the hoop. Well, Brown's more of the slasher than Tatum is. So it just has to be room on the court. And Barnes is a guy who can, hang around the perimeter, knock down shots. If you kick it to him on the wing, he has a favorable one-on-one matchup. He can make a move to the rim. So guys like that are where this needs to go. I do think the whole Tristan Thompson, Daniel Tice, Robert Williams trio at the 5 position, one of them has to go. And if they're going to let one go, they have to get something back of worthwhile. If it were me, I would probably say Thompson would be the odd out, but I could see Tice is probably the guy most likely moved out of those 3. We'll see. I don't know. So they're a team that needs to make a move for sure. They have the TPE that they got from the Hayward thing. And that's another thing the Celtics fans there. Quit bringing up Gordon Hayward with this team. It was not going to happen. He had a player option. He opted out. He wanted to move on for a bigger role, and that's what he got in Charlotte. So it's annoying hearing that after every loss, but whatever. So Celtics are still in a good position. They will be a playoff team. It's just to get a championship out of Brown and Tatum, they're going to have to bring in a better third guy. Unless if Kemba gets back to, which I'm sure isn't possible, but Hornets all-star level Kemba, I just think the knee limits him somewhat. But past couple of games, though, he has shown that he can kind of fit into the number 3 role a little better, and has been hitting that, knocking down 3-point shots better and that kind of stuff. So the Brown and Tatum will get 25 a night. One of them probably more towards 30 a night. If Kemba can consistently get around 20 a game, and if Williams, I think Robert Williams is going to have a bigger role going down the stretch, and Brad Stevens has basically talked about that's kind of where it's heading to. If Roberts could be a guy who's like 12 and 10 consistently, Celtics will be fine. So for right now, that's where they are. So that's it for that group of teams that are just outside the title picture. So now we're into the group of teams who are basically doing well right now, but it's kind of all moot right now. It's basically, you got to prove it to me in the playoffs. That's where I'm at with these teams. I got 6 teams here. First team, Clippers. We all know why. Clippers had a great team last year. What happened? They got into the playoffs. Somehow it imploded on itself, and they exited earlier than they were supposed to. So going into this year, yes, Paul George has looked better. Kawhi Leonard still Kawhi. They dusted off Nicholas Batum after he'd been in exile in Charlotte. He's performing for them. So, so at this point, I don't care how they finish in the regular season. Doesn't matter to me. Does not change my opinion of them at all. They are going to have to show it in the playoffs. And once again, it's still a group that should be able to contend for a title. So at this point, the Clippers have to make the Western Conference Finals at least. If they don't do that, then I'm sorry, it's been a complete dud out there. I don't care if they, well, let me see, last year, what was it? They struggled in the first round and won, lost in the second round. Yeah. So yeah, it's Western Conference Finals or nothing. So they will not even reach the radar of my attention until the Western Conference Finals. And if they're not there, then it's been a waste of time. Next, Utah Jazz. I mean, Utah's gone through this year basically the best record in the West. And I'm not going to say they're the overwhelming title favorite because I need to see I guess, can Donovan Mitchell be efficient enough once the playoffs come to get this team into the Western Conference Finals and possibly the NBA Finals? Because we saw last year in the bubble, in the playoffs, he had some great high-scoring games, but I feel like a lot of those came on a lot of shots. And I think when Utah's at its best, the ball's just flowing, so, you know, Mitchell gets some points. Conley's getting some. They have the other Bogdanovich, right? So Bogdanovich gets some scoring in there. Ingles as well. And then Gobert is just, I mean, he runs the paint. He's, you know, affecting shots on defense. He's getting offensive rebounds and putbacks on offense. So the pieces are there clearly for them to be a legit contender, but I just need to see it playoff time when sometimes the game slows down a little bit and it's all about execution. Can Utah pull through and make the plays necessary when needed to get it done? Next, I have the Bucks in this group. I've talked about the Bucks the last couple of years as well. I think the fact that Budenholzer and those guys seem like they are inept at making changes in a playoff series when it's not working, that's what's held them back. Last year against Miami, they had some injuries. Yes, I get it. I think the year before was when I want to say the Sixers knocked them out or something. And it was just a simple thing that they came out game one. It did not work for them. They changed little to nothing in their games, in their game plan, and just got bounced. So it's pretty much the same group this year. I do like the fact that it's Drew Holiday instead of Eric Bledsoe. I hated Eric Bledsoe on Milwaukee. I felt like he was the biggest reason that they weren't able to get over the hump. And I trust Drew Holiday more than Eric Bledsoe, but we'll have to see playoff time if Drew Holiday can continue his level of production. Brook Lopez, I still feel like he shoots way too many threes for me. And I've said it since he started doing it, that he is going to lose games for Milwaukee when it matters. And he does that because for every, like 4 for 7 night he may have from three, he'll give you a 1 for 6, 1 for 7. And you'll be screaming at the TV because you'll know it's a situation where he should be down low, but he's just hanging around the perimeter. Giannis, I got to give it to Giannis. He's continuing to grow his game and work on it. He still isn't there in terms of a perimeter shooter, so maybe once he gets that part locked down, then they'll be a legit contender, but we'll have to see how long that takes, though. So I would hate to see them waste like these MVP years of Giannis before they figure that out. Next, I have the Nuggets. Nuggets were in the Western Conference Finals last year. They started off slow this year. They've started to slowly turn it on the past couple of weeks. So for me, they made the Western Conference Finals last year. Of course, the next step is the finals. And they're another team that has the pieces in place to really contend with the Lakers for the Western Conference title. His key for them is Michael Porter Jr. having he 100% focused and engaged game in and game out. Offense, defense, all that. Because he has the tendency to have these lapses in his play where, he's taking bad shots or he's letting get to the defensively no awareness. So if they can curb that down and get him locked in, I think they'll be golden. Between Murray and Jokic, they're fine there. Porter Jr. has to be that number 3 guy to get them over. So, got the Nuggets there. I have the Sixers in this group because the Sixers all year have looked like the best team in the East, but we've kind of seen this story before where they're supposed to be great, but then they get in the playoffs. Usually when they meet up against like the Celtics or something, they end up losing and bowing out. Now, the latest injury to Joel Embiid is interesting to see how they are able to deal with that. They said he's going to be out like 2 to 3 weeks. Well, let's see how true that is. I mean, as a big man, I feel like there's only so many like injuries you can have to your lower extremities before it really starts to show. Not saying it's going to happen with Embiid, but I want to see if he comes back from this hyperextended knee. Does he sit more on the perimeter now? Because he did get hurt, dunking in a game, and he came down funny and all that. So does he now in the back of his mind stay more perimeter? Because if he does, then the Sixers will be it'll be another disappointment this year with an early playoff exit, to be honest. So I'll have to see with them. I put the Suns in this group. Now, the Suns are a team that's clearly on the come up, but we're going to have to see because we have seen this with a Chris Paul team before where they look really good in the regular season, but then they flame out in the playoffs. I mean, look at all those years he was with the Clippers where they had all the talent in the world and never put it together. He has Devin Booker as his main guy in Phoenix, and Booker, I mean, if you've seen Booker play, one thing you know is he can put up some points. They have Crowder, guys like that they brought in. So, they definitely changed the culture there. It's now a team that's expected to win on a night-to-night basis, even going up against upper echelon teams in the NBA. They feel like they really have a chance every night, and they do because the talent is there. But I want to see, because all this talk about Chris Paul's greatest, floor general in NBA history, but yet he can't get any of these teams into a finals. So let's see. So that's the end of that group. Now that leaves basically 2 teams that I have as your title favorites. I'm sure you probably know who they are. Well, clearly since I went through the rest of the league, you know who they are. But we have the Nets. I mean, the Nets have put together their super team. They have Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant. I mean, what more is there to say? Durant's basically the number 2 best player in the world. Some people say Harden's a top 5 guy, and probably say Kyrie's a top 10 player in the NBA. So naturally, there should be success there. Now, Durant has been out for a little bit, and Durant's also coming back from the Achilles injury, so we'll have to see how he holds up durability-wise. But when he's on the court, there's no question because Durant's game is based on the fact that he's legit. I don't know, what is he listed at? Whatever they list him at, he's probably taller than that. Like, Durant looks legit 7 feet with crazy long arms, and he's a dead-eye sharpshooter. So the whole Achilles injury didn't really matter because he's not really predicated on athleticism alone. His biggest asset is his ability to shoot from every spot on the floor. So as long as he doesn't come back and is a little rusty, he'll be fine. I did say when they acquired Harden that they needed to get playmaker Harden and not black hole, selfish Harden on offense. So far, he has shown he's willing to be the playmaker out of the 3, and they're going to have to keep him at that if they really want any success in the playoffs. Kyrie's kind of all a mental thing because a lot of times he gets in his own way and will mentally check out. At least that's what I saw those couple of years in with Boston. And even, I guess, at the end with Cleveland, where he kind of got sick of LeBron and all that. So it's always been kind of a mental thing with Kyrie. So if they can, keep him engaged and he's locked in on the season, he should be fine. Now, Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin, in terms of where he was with the Clippers to now, the talent erosion with him has been astonishing. Has it been a year and a half since he's had a dunk or something, which is crazy to me. So he's basically become just a jump shooter at this point. He takes quite a bit of threes. He's not that great of a 3-point shooter. He shoots from the mid-range a lot. I know Brooklyn said they're going to use him as a small ball 5. Defensively, he's kind of in cement, so we'll have to see how that looks. So I guess that's the biggest question for them is how does Blake Griffin fit in with the big three? So that leads us to, I guess, the defending champion Lakers. Now, Anthony Davis has been out for a while, and I think they said he's still 2 weeks away, which has led some to believe, as I do, that the injury that he suffered is more serious than they're leading on. And as we saw last year when they won it all, he is the biggest reason that they did win it. I'm sure some of you LeBron fans are probably going to hate that statement, but come on. You got to be honest with yourself. If Anthony Davis was not there last year, that Lakers team was not going to win it all. If you think they would have, you're lying to yourself. So, it's the same thing this year. If he is not ready to go 100% when playoffs roll around, they have zero shot of making it back to the NBA Finals. Once again, just being honest with you. So, that's their biggest question, and that's kind of the only question they need to answer. I will say they probably could use a free agent pickup or a minor trade or something like that. I think they could probably use a ball handler. Yeah, another ball handler is probably what they need. So, but there you go. I know that was kind of a long one, but yeah, that was a pretty long episode. But like I said, I told you I was gonna put each team in their place in the league, and I did it for you right there. So, you guys let me know what you think about how I have these teams. Actually, you know what? This tier list that I have, I may try to put it out on Twitter. So if you need a reminder of what I had them as, go over there at Chompin' Podcast. I will put it up there, and you guys let me know, how legit is it to you. So, yeah. So let me know if any teams I have in the wrong spot. Do I have some teams too high in the wrong category, or if I have them too low in a certain category. I don't know. Let me know. But quickly looking forward, gonna do an episode on Dak Prescott and that whole situation with his new deal and how Cowboy fans are reacting. Talk about that. Talk about Cam Newton coming back to New England. That's coming up this week. And as I said, Patriots fan, you'll get my look at the move as a Patriots fan. And I may not feel the way that you think I would feel about that one. So stay tuned for that one. We also have bracketology today. The first four is Thursday, and then basically the tournament itself gets underway Friday. So I will do an episode on So I'll do an episode on teams that I've been watching who I think have a shot at cutting down the nets at the end of the NCAA tournament. Some teams I think could be on upset alert. Talk about that. And then I guess before Friday, because I think brackets have to be in Friday at noon, I will fill out my bracket and let you know how I see it going. So, got that coming up. So stay tuned for all of that. Wherever you listen to this, as I said, available everywhere right now. Go ahead and hit subscribe. That way, whenever I episodes, you will know right away. Follow the show, Chop It Podcast, on Twitter, like I said before. And what else? Do have the YouTube channel. You search my name, Kyle Edwards. My channel comes up. All the episodes are there as well. It is audio forms, not video yet. Maybe we'll work our way towards that. Coming down in the future, we are on our way to episode number 100. And definitely appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Be safe. God bless. And I'll check you out in the next episode. All right.